joining a live stream or are we doing a new live stream? I think we're now doing a new live stream. And I think it's working, which is a turn out for the books. Um, welcome back. If you're joining on this live stream, the main thing I want to get across here is that I'm going to be redoing this once again next week because this week's been just such a disaster with the connection issues. Um, That's the first thing. The other thing is I wanted to answer this question because I've asked it will be pushed to next week. But if you have a question that you would like answered on next week's live, you to ask new questions for next week's live Q&A that I will announce at some point next week. It'll probably be on the Friday, but I will confirm that it's at some point. Otherwise, let's get into this final question that I've been trying my best to first ask and then keep getting cut off by this live stream not working and then answer it. So Aaron Drop 9 says, what are some key things to focus on during the off season? And I then said he's not in the off season, but he replied, I wanted to hear Rugby Muscle's thoughts on what are key things to focus on during the off season since I've heard different takes. Be interested to know what they are. Knowledge is power and doesn't hurt to know, regardless of if I am currently in the off season. So the cop-out answer to this question is going to be if you're in the off season, things don't change that much. You should just train according to whatever your goals are and whatever you need. So that would mean, like, for example, if you're a really strong guy, you're either a four. It doesn't matter what position you are, right? But strength isn't the thing that's holding you back. It's your conditioning, it's your fitness, or it's your speed. Those would be the things that you would focus on in the off season. Likewise, if you are already pretty fast and a good tactical player or something, but you're just not quite doing it in the collisions and in contact situations, then perhaps you should look at doing strength and power work and hypertrophy work in your off season. The thing is, really, this doesn't change too much from off season to in season. I think we overthink this a lot. You just have a little bit more wiggle room to push yourself a little bit harder in the off season. It doesn't mean you have to push yourself harder in the off season. In fact, I would advocate against the opposite. And so the answer of it depends is always going to be the true answer, unfortunately. But because we're doing this on a good live stream, let's absolutely dive deep into this and give a hot take. My hot take for this is the vast majority of people that are watching this live stream. So there's a very good chance that's you watching this and listening to this right now. The off season should be putting your main focus on aerobic conditioning. That is because that is going to give you your best bang for your buck as far as being a better rugby player. Because most people are just not fit enough when it comes to the games. They will always sort of decline over the course of the 80 minutes. They'll decline as a rugby session goes on. They'll decline as a strength session goes on. The better your aerobic system is, the more you're going to be able to perform not only just better in longer games of rugby, which is obviously a huge benefit, right? You can always be a little bit fitter, and I think you can see a big improvement in your aerobic fitness. That would obviously, like, the direct effect it's going to have on your game can be absolutely profound, and you've got a lot of time in the off season to build a solid aerobic base in it, and you'll see it get better as slowly but surely. You'll see your slow runs get a little bit faster, or your heart rate drop down whilst you're working at the same rate or a little bit harder. It's difficult to see. It's difficult to really directly see and it's difficult to believe that this is going to have such a big effect on your rugby, but it does. It makes it stops you from hitting the wall. It stops you from slowing down as games go on. It allows you to get up from one heavy effort, right? So one big carry that you make, you can then get up from that effort and go back and do another carry a lot faster back going again than you would have done in previous seasons when you're less fit. It has a huge impact on your game. Not only does it have a huge impact on your game, it also has a huge impact on your training, right? The more aerobically fit you can, the more productive your strength sessions can be, because you don't need as long a rest between sets, because you don't really start to slowly, or not even slowly, you don't see the intensity of your session dramatically drop as we go past 45 minutes, because you're not fit enough to keep that going. Your aerobic system allows you to do that. Your aerobic system also allows you to recover faster from speed sessions, not just so that you can rest less when you're doing speed work, but also so that you can do more speed work throughout the week. It allows you to train out much better. When you're doing skills training, you're able to get in more skills work before your skills start to degrade and become of poor quality, and that make that skill session unproductive. Obviously, of course, if we're talking about skills, that also will transfer into games. If you're able to not let your skills drop in games and keep performing over 80 minutes, it's going to make you a better rugby player. And so I would say the vast majority of people need to work really hard in the off season. I say really hard, really just apply focus to their aerobic system. This is, and I say this is a bit of a hot take, because that's the opposite of what most people muscle. When it comes to them, it comes for reason. You've gained this muscle, you've gained this strength, you finish strong in contact situations. But because rugby is primarily a game that's, you're running a lot, you're moving a lot, you're having to do these high intensity actions. The benefit you'll see of that strength, that muscle, that power is going to be minimal if you cannot be conditioned enough. You cannot get yourself around the pitch enough. So actually, your performance might actually diminish. And then it takes a real tough preseason to get your fitness back to where it needs to be. And if you're going to really emphasize your fitness in preseason, right, because you're so unfit, you have to push yourself, push yourself, push yourself. What are you going to sacrifice on the back end? You're going to sacrifice your strength, your muscle, your power. I've seen it time and time again with rugby players that lost muscle in their preseason. It's also because you've gained it in an ultra fast manner as well, right? You've gained it really quick, as quick as you can. You haven't really allowed a good time for your body to get used to having that muscle. It's fairly new. You're then adding this other complete new demand, because you haven't been doing fitness in your off season, into your, adding this extra stress onto the body. What's the body going to do? It's going to adapt, sacrifice this new thing that it doesn't really think it needs. This extra muscle, this extra strength feels a luxury. And now, because you're not able to recover, because you're not fit enough in your preseason or in your season, when you get into games, you sacrifice and you lose that muscle mass, that strength that you've been focusing on in the off season. So I think fitness should be a big focus. Now, does that mean to say it should be the only focus? Probably not. I can give a good example of when it is. I had a lock that I consulted with, and he's I'm like, well, I don't have too much time. I have maybe 2, maybe 3 days a week. This guy is late 30s, has a family, experienced rugby player, experienced lock. And he said, I have, maybe 2 hours a week, maybe 3, right, where I can get in a session. What should I be doing in the gym? And I remember looking at him and thinking, well, right now you don't do anything in the gym too much anyways, right? So you're already I think he was a farmer. You're a big fella. You don't need to be training too much as far as muscle strength goes. You're holding your own in your contact situations. You're fine. What would be the best is just to do your aerobic work. So we started out with just base building, just real low intensity, slow runs. And mostly, for the most part, that's all he did in the off season. Twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, sometimes just once a week. Get out and go for 45 minutes to an hour, low intensity run or bike. And then as the season drew closer, we'd switch that out for a little bit like tempo style sessions. And fast forward to the season, this guy's playing the best rugby of his life. Like, that's the reality of it, because he didn't need to put on any muscle. He didn't need to put on any strength. All he needed to do was get fitter to allow him to get more action. This guy now makes carries where he never used to make this amount of carries. This guy is making tackles, getting around the contact area, getting turnovers, playing the best rugby because he's just fitter, and because he's more relaxed around the pitch, he's able to play better rugby. No extra gym work. Now, if you're watching the Rugby Muscle YouTube channel, you're watching this live stream, like, maybe if you can dedicate, 5 sessions a week or even 4 sessions a week, I'd say a minimum 2 of those should be on building your aerobic base, and then you can do your weights around that and you would be fine. So, say if you're doing 5 sessions a week, 2 of them are fitness. That doesn't mean fitness isn't a focus, right? It doesn't mean conditioning isn't a focus. It just means it is still a really important part of your off season. And I do think that most people completely don't think it's important. It's so, so, so important. Keep that going. And then, you know, going back to the previous question where we asked if 3 full body sessions was the best way to do it or was it good enough, right? The 3 full body sessions, plus the 2 aerobic sessions, you're going to gain muscle, you're going to gain strength, you're going to gain power with those 3 full body sessions, but you're going to do it in a way that your body is still okay and doesn't need this dramatic turnaround in its fitness to sacrifice that muscle, to sacrifice that strength to get into preseason to be fit enough. You're staying fit as you're gaining this muscle, as you're gaining this strength, and that's actually really, really, really important. You teach the body that we're adding this muscle, but it's not. It's staying fit the whole time. You're staying on top of your fitness the entire time, and that would be exactly how I'd lay it out, and that would be why I would really emphasize aerobic fitness as the focus during your off season for the vast majority of people watching this, because you don't need to put and the other reason would be because you're watching this Rugby Muscle YouTube channel, you're probably going to the gym already quite enough. Like you're probably already, that's, you're going to gain muscle. You're not going to gain it any faster, and that's not going to do you any good. You're already gaining strength. You're not going to gain it any faster. It's not going to do you any good. You just need to keep gaining enough and put the focus on the fitness. And so then you get better at everything. Okay. And that's how you're going to have the most productive off season. So, like I said, if you're watching this stream past the fact you want to ask a question for next week's live stream, because this one has been an absolute disaster, pop it in the comments below. Give it a thumbs up. If you're already watching this video, it really does help out. I will answer quickly this question from Joanne, because I think they pronounce it. He says, how do you split the muscles during the off season? I don't. Full body, all the time. That's by far the best. And go back and watch the previous 30 minutes or so of the last 2 videos to understand why. If you're interested in any of our programs, Team Rugby Muscle, that's 4 days a week of training. It's never more than 3 days of just weights. Actually, sometimes it's 4, but it's 4 days mostly. It can be 5, it can be 3, but always one of those days is going to be conditioning. Always one of those days is going to be power, and that's how you train to be the best rugby player that you can be, not a bodybuilder. All right, with that one, I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be, well, actually, we'll be doing another video that will be uploaded to the YouTube channel next Wednesday, and then I believe we will go live next Friday. Thank you for bearing with me. I'll go and sort these streams out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.